What's up everyone? Welcome back to Indwell. I have a super simple build for you today. I have two live edge bar tops here I made for a local restaurant. On this one we have a nice miter. I'll show you my favorite way and I think the easiest way to glue up a miter like this. But it was a super simple one. If you stick around I'll show you everything I did. So maybe you can do this for your house, restaurant, I don't know, for fun. Stick around. Alright, welcome to another video. This one's going to be actually pretty simple. Apparently not simple enough because my son had to come over and show me actually how to use that pen. I was selecting out some wood for this job and I really liked how those monkey pod slabs were looking. They had some really nice grain and shape and I was going to try to figure out how to use them for this job, but they ended up just not really being big enough and would have been a little more work than I wanted to do. So I just grabbed some bigger slabs and needed to cut some off of them. Pretty simple. All I'm doing here is just ripping that back edge off the wall that these counters are going on. It's going to be sitting on a 2x6, so the minimum that they wanted was, I think it was like 8 inches. So with live edge you kind of are just trying to find a happy medium. As you can see, this piece on the left there, that live edge, it really goes out a little bit, so that maximum overhang on each side is a little more than on the other end, but you kind of just do what you can with live edge. That one edge that's getting cut is like the employee facing side. It just made it a little easier to not have live edge on both sides, and I kind of thought that it would look weird to try to have a live edge on both sides. It would have just looked like a big like limb sitting on a wall, and I don't know, didn't think it would look very good. I'm really glad I ended up just cutting that back edge off. It ended up looking way nicer, but pretty simple. Once I cut those two slabs down, I threw them through my drum sander to get them flat and nice. This thing is a massive time saver. It's a huge time saver from hand sanding, but it honestly isn't that quick of a process. It takes a while. This is sped up at least double time. So you can see really just how slow the process is. Super satisfying though. You kind of get to see that grain come to life. Sometimes slabs look just so messy and ugly until you take that top edge off and it looks super nice. So it's always kind of an exciting process. Start to get really stoked. In this shot you can just see that before it's super muddy looking and you can't really tell exactly what it's going to look like, and then after sending it through the sander a few times back and forth, you can really see that grain just come out. And like I said, it's super exciting at this part. It's like, man, this is going to be beautiful, especially if you're putting the right finish on, which I think I did put the right finish on. I'm going with something a little different on this one, so hang with me here. You're going to see it in a little bit. It's actually the first time I've ever used it, and I'm pretty happy with it. I've heard great things about it, so you'll get to see more about that in a minute. But once I'm done just getting these things nice and flat and sanded nice through the drum sander, it leaves pretty aggressive marks. So the same process as usual. You just take them back over to your sawhorses or workbench or whatever, and I take my Brotex to it. Yeah, I just called that a Brotex. So it's a Bosch Rotex knockoff because I can't afford a Rotex yet. Maybe one day I will. But this thing's also pretty quick at getting epoxy and stuff out. I didn't want to bore you guys with showing you how I filled a couple of those pukas with black epoxy. That's super boring video that you guys don't need to see, but then I guess a lot of sanding is too, so I'm trying to speed this up. And if you saw my last video, you guys saw how I like to take care of live edge. I don't really like doing live edge stuff, but I found that what keeps the live edge the most pure or natural looking is just taking some really aggressive sandpaper to it. I don't like taking any super coarse grinders or anything because it just cuts into it too much and makes it look a little fake. In my opinion, if you're going to have a live edge, you might as well try to keep it live, I guess. That's my thinking in it anyway. So I think I'm just using some like 60 grit here, really taking it down. It takes a little bit more time, but it comes out really nice looking. And dust collection on your sander at this point is pretty much pointless. I don't even know why I ever have it on. It really does nothing when you're taking down live edge like this. Once that somewhat tedious process is finished and I'm satisfied with where I had it, I'm just cutting these things down to size. As you can see, I like to do it in multiple passes. It leaves a much nicer cut, and honestly, this saw is not really made to handle like super gnarly hardwoods like this anyway, so sometimes I even do like 3 passes to really get a clean cut. As you see on this shot here, I'm doing 3 passes, and oh man, that wood is starting to look real nice. Anyway, so yeah, 3 passes, get a nice cut through there. If I had the TS75, I bet it could do it in 1 pass, but that's just the 55. So you can see that these things are coming out pretty nice already, and you're probably thinking, well, this job is pretty much over. Just slap those things on the counters. I had to do kind of one more thing here, and that was I had to add a miter. There was a 90-degree corner or elbow on this wall, so that countertop needed to just wrap around on top of that wall. Pretty excited to do this. I always like doing this, these kinds of miters. It's a little tricky with that live edge though, because it's really hard to get that heartwood line where in the sapwood line where the heartwood and sapwood meet. It's really hard to get those to line up perfectly on a miter like this, because that line is kind of moving up and down. So by the time you cut into the wood on both sides, you're losing a little bit of material with the blade width. It's about 1/8 of an inch. So after you cut both sides, it's about 1/4 of an inch you're losing. And when you put it back together, the chances of that line meeting back up are very slim. It's a little easier to do if it's not live edge and you're just trying to grain match certain lines and things. You have a much higher chance of actually matching that thing up. But you're going to see in a second, it's pretty difficult to get that to match up on a live edge situation like this. Again, I'm just doing a couple passes here, making that first cut. So I just had a 2x4 underneath the piece of wood there, so don't worry, I'm not cutting into my concrete. And then I put this back up on the sawhorses to do the other cut and take that thing out, and you're going to be left with a kind of funky triangle of leftover wood. Pretty good cut there. And before you get that reveal, I guess I moved on to taking out the most awesome tool that everybody loves, the jigsaw. Such a fun tool. It just makes a really nice sound. I usually take my hearing protection or my AirPods out of my ears to actually listen to this thing. It's really enjoyable. Kind of sounds like you're rubbing sheet metal on blacktop, towing it behind your truck or something down the highway. Sounds great. What you saw me doing there, though, getting way behind here, was I'm cutting out just some electrical holes because there's some electrical conduit that was going through this countertop. Okay, so what I'm doing here is the easiest way to glue up a miter, and probably cheating, okay? So if you have a domino and you have to do a miter like this, I seriously suggest getting the domino connectors, because sometimes gluing up these miters are a little bit of a nightmare, but if you get these domino connectors, seriously, it is the easiest thing ever. It takes all of the stress out of gluing one of these up. I mean, you don't even have to put any glue in there. I ended up doing it, but it's so satisfying. You can just hammer this thing in, get it close, and what you're gonna do is just use an Allen key to mechanically tighten this joint together. And seriously, it is pretty hard to mess up. It's gonna come out pretty much perfect, and it's just so satisfying. So what you're gonna do is you're just gonna tighten down one side, and then go onto that other side and tighten it down, and you can just watch this joint close itself up pretty much better than I probably could have done any other way. And just like I said, nightmare free, headache free, and like crazy strong. Obviously that's the bottom of the countertop, so you're never even gonna see that. And look at that. I mean, it's pretty much perfect, super strong, no glue needed. But you could tell what I was saying about that heartwood and sapwood lining up. It's really hard for those lines to match up. That was pretty much the best I could get it. Anyway, so back to sanding this thing flat, just getting it closer to final sanding. I thought I took a shot of me showing how level that joint actually is, but I guess not. As you guys know, I like to hand sand my live edge edges and corners whenever I can, and obviously I had to kind of, kind of clean up that mitered corner end there, which was super satisfying to try to make that thing look as natural as possible. And just like that, we're almost already done. Just time to put my logo. The overhang on this corner here, you could actually see the logo if you kind of look underneath the countertop for whatever reason, you would see this. So kind of inconspicuous, but maybe someone will actually see it. So I always like to try to find a spot someone can see it. Came out pretty well, just cleaning it up. Here is the new finish I'm using. It's Total Boat Halcyon Clear. And anytime I'm using a new finish, it's super important that you guys pop that lid open and give a good whiff. You really want to know what you're working with here. It doesn't even matter if it's 0 VOCs. I like to just know what it smells like. What did this smell like? I remember putting it down on my phone. It kind of smelled fishy to me almost. Kind of interesting. Rubio smells like really good. It makes me really hungry, but this stuff didn't make me hungry. It doesn't smell like good, but it also doesn't smell bad. It's not like paint or anything, but a little like fishy smelling. I don't really know how to describe it. Kind of weird. But what it is it's super easy to apply and it's way more kind of durable since this is going in a commercial, it's like a restaurant deli area and with a lot of high traffic and heavy use. This is going to be good for a long time. Total Boat does suggest annual kind of maintenance, brushing on another coat. And you can also spray this stuff on too. It's super strong and easy to apply. And you can see really how glossy it is when you're applying it on. So I did not want a gloss finish, but what they recommend is that you use the gloss finish on the first few coats to really highlight the grain in the wood and make it as vibrant as possible. And I think on each side I did about four or five coats. No, it was 5 coats including the final coat. So 4 coats, I believe, of this gloss. And on this final coat, you can see I'm just going with the grain, sanding it down with, I believe, 320 grit sandpaper, super gently. And you just want to make sure you get all that dust off after you sand it. But just nice and gently sand it all off. You want to wait an hour between coats. And then what you're going to do is you are going to put on some clear satin finish after the gloss. And what that does is it kind of knocks down that super glossy look that I really dislike. Some people like it, but I'm not a big fan. I much prefer a more natural satin look, I guess. So that's what I was hoping to achieve here. And I couldn't be happier with this product. It is so nice. If you're looking for a product that is going to be a little more high use, or I don't know what the words I'm looking for, just more wear and tear, this is a good product. And you can see how much less glossy it is, but it's really clear. So if you were to use the satin the whole way through, it'd be really muddy. And anyway, so obviously I did that on the other piece. And here comes install. This is the wall that those pieces are going to go on. I had to take some of that backing off there to access it, to screw it in. Once I got the counters up onto that wall, super stoked with how they looked. I think they made the space look really nice, and a lot of people are going to see it and get really good use out of it. People are going to be kind of standing there waiting for their shave ice and food and all kinds of stuff, probably abusing it, and probably have to go back in there pretty soon to fix it all. But that's good with me. If you're gonna get something like this, you might as well abuse it. All right, well, if you made it this far, we have our bar tops out of this beautiful monkey cottonwood. If you follow me on my Instagram, indwell.kauai, you'll see more pictures and videos there. I hope you found this mildly entertaining. Please give me any feedback, any reviews, comments. Let me know what you thought, and we'll see you guys on the next one.